Welcome. Okay, so you've sent over some really fascinating source material this time, focusing on the very beginnings of the Kuru lineage
Yeah.
and the births of some major players.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the foundational stuff, the origin stories.
Exactly. And our goal here really is just to unpack the most, compelling stories and insights from these texts, get a handle on how this whole epic got started.
We're looking at descriptions of ancient events, genealogies. It's quite a mix.
It really is. And listeners should get ready, because we're going to cover some wild stuff: miraculous births, early rivalries kicking off, incredible skills on display, and the first hints of political games.
It's all there right from the start. You can almost see the fault lines forming.
Totally. Okay, let's dive in. Where should we begin? I mean, maybe with Karna. His origin is just, well, something else.
Definitely Karna. But maybe start with his mother, Pritha, who we later know as Kunti.
Right. Her early life, she was actually adopted by Kuntipuja, given to him by her father, Sura, kind of as a friendship gesture.
And it's in Kunti Puja's house that, well, a pivotal thing happens. She's attending to guests, specifically the Brahmana Durvasa.
Ah, Durvasa.
Yeah.
Known for being, let's say, quite intense, but also powerful.
Extremely. And a Brahmana, a member of the priestly class, holding significant spiritual knowledge. He was really impressed with Pritha's service, her dedication.
So impressed he gives her a boon, right? This mantra.
Exactly. A mantra to summon any celestial she wanted, to have a child by them. Maybe he saw trouble ahead for her, who knows?
And being young and curious, she
Well,
tries it out.
she does. She invokes Surya, the sun god, Vivaswat, but then naturally she gets pretty scared about, the consequences.
Yeah, I can imagine. What have I done?
But Surya reassures her, tells her it'll be okay, no harm will come to her, and then bang, a son is born instantly.
Karna, born with divine armor and earrings, like built-in protection and bling.
Right, markers of his divine father and his own power. Described as stunningly beautiful, unparalleled with weapons right from birth.
It's incredible. But for Kunti, or Pritha at this point, it's a crisis.
A huge crisis. Surya restores her maidenhood, which is obviously vital given the social context.
Okay, yeah, that's important.
But she's still terrified of her family finding out the scandal.
So she makes that absolutely heartbreaking choice.
She does. She puts the baby Karna in a basket, floats him down the river. Abandonment.
And you can already see how that shakes him, right? That sense of not belonging, searching for his place. It puts him on a collision course later on.
It absolutely sets everything in motion. The consequences are massive. The baby's found not by royalty, but by Radha's husband. He's a Sutta.
A charioteer. Important job, but yeah, a different social class.
Exactly. And he raises Karna as his own. They name him Vasusena, born with wealth, because of the armor and earrings.
A fitting name. And he grows up strong.
Incredibly strong, inherently so, and fiercely devoted to Surya. The texts say he'd stand worshipping until the sun literally baked his back.
Wow, that's dedication.
And during that worship, he vowed to give any Brahmana anything they asked for, anything at all.
That famous generosity. It defines him, but also it's a vulnerability.
It's his Achilles heel, almost, because Indra, king of the gods, knows about this, and Indra wants to protect his own son, Arjuna.
Ah, the plot thickens.
So Indra disguises himself as a Brahmana, goes to Karna during his worship, and asks for
A divine armor.
Yeah.
The one thing that makes him near invincible.
the one thing. And Karna knows it's Indra, knows the implications, but his vow is absolute. He cuts it off his own body and gives it to him.
Unbelievable selflessness. Or maybe adherence to principle to a fault.
It's complex, isn't it? But Indra, even though he got what he wanted, was apparently so struck by Karna's generosity.
He feels a bit bad.
Maybe. He gives Karna a gift in return, a powerful dart, the Vasavi Shakti, guaranteed to kill any one enemy, celestial, human, demon, whatever, but only usable once.
One shot. Another crucial element for later.
Definitely. And it's because he cut off his own covering, his armor, that Vasusena gets the name Karna the Cutter.
Wow. The name itself tells the story. Okay, so let's pivot back to Kunti. After this traumatic early event,
Right. Time passes. She grows up, known for beauty, virtue, all that. But strangely, no kings are asking for her hand.
which seems odd given her qualities and Kuntipuja's status.
It does. So Kuntipuja takes matters into his own hands. He arranges a Swayamvara.
The ceremony where the princess chooses her own husband from assembled royalty. A big deal.
Huge deal. Lots of kings and princes gather. And Kunti's eyes land on one man.
Pandu.
Pandu, described as absolutely magnificent, lion-like, broad-chested, eyes like a bull, radiating power, like another Indra, the text says.
And Kunti's reaction.
Immediate. She's completely overcome, just walks forward modestly, places the garland around his neck. He's the one.
And the other kings just go home.
Yep, they accept her choice. Pandu and Kunti are married, seen as this perfect ideal couple, like Indra and his wife Indrani.
Kunti must have been pleased.
Delighted! He showers Pandu with gifts, wealth. A strong alliance is formed.
So this sets Pandu up. What happens next?
Well, he also takes a second wife, Madri. The texts mention him enjoying time with both wives, a period of sort of domestic bliss initially.
Before kingly duties call.
Right. After about a month, he gets the blessings from the elders, says goodbye to Dhritarashtra and the others, and sets off on a major military campaign. World conquest, essentially.
Ambitious. Was he successful?
Extremely. First, he deals with some local robbers, the Asarnas. Then he takes on Dirga, the ruler of Magadha, defeats him soundly, takes his treasury.
So he's proving his strength right away.
Absolutely. He keeps going Misla, subjugating the Videhas, then Kasi, Sumva, Pundra. He's really expanding Kuru influence and fame.
Like Indra, as the text suggested, an invincible hero.
Pretty much. Kings everywhere are defeated, become his vassals, send tribute, massive amounts of wealth gems, gold, silver, pearls, cattle, horses, elephants, chariots, just staggering amounts.
And he brings all this back to Hastinapura.
He does. Triumphant return. The subjects are ecstatic. And importantly, he doesn't hoard the wealth.
No. What does he do?
He offers it all to the elders Bhishma, Satyavati, his mothers, sends a large portion to Vidura, makes sure all the relatives are gratified, shows respect for the family structure.
That's significant. And this wealth, it benefits everyone.
Yes, Dhritarashtra uses it to perform grand sacrifices, which brings prestige to the whole Kuru family. So Pandu's conquests strengthen everyone, at least on the surface.
A time of unity, seemingly. But then the focus shifts to the next generation.
Right, the births. This is where things get really complicated. We hear about Dhritarashtra having his children.
100 sons with Gandhari, including Duryodhana, and a daughter, Dusala.
And another son, Yuyutsu, with a Vaishya woman, part of the merchant farmer class.
Gandhari's story is, well, it's pretty intense. She gets a boon for 100 sons from Vyasa.
Yes, Dwapayana Vyasa, the sage. A boon for 100 sons, each as strong as her husband, but the pregnancy, it lasts 2 years.
2 years. That's extraordinary. Why emphasize that length, do you think?
It definitely signals something unusual, maybe foreshadows the huge disruptive impact these sons will have. It causes Gandhari immense distress.
And then she hears Kunti has given birth.
Right. Kunti has her first son, Yudhishthira. Gandhari hears this, and in a fit of jealousy, grief, frustration, she strikes her own womb.
Oh, no. What happens?
Tragically, she miscarries, but what comes out isn't a recognizable fetus. It's described as a hard mass of flesh, like an iron ball, after 2 years of waiting.
Devastating. She must have been distraught.
Completely. She's about to throw it away when Vyasa shows up, seemingly knowing what happened through his powers. Gandhari confesses, heartbroken.
But Vyasa says his boon won't fail.
Exactly. He tells her not to worry. He instructs her to get 100, actually, 101 pots filled with clarified butter, ghee. Keep them hidden.
Okay, what for?
He sprinkles the mass of flesh with cool water, and using his mystical powers, he divides it into 101 pieces.
One for each son and one extra.
One for each of the 100 promised sons and one for a daughter. These pieces are placed in the pots to develop.
Wow. That's quite a birth story. Miraculous, but also a bit unsettling.
Definitely unsettling. And the first one to fully form and be born from his pot is Duryodhana.
And his birth isn't exactly auspicious, is it?
Not at all. It happens on the same day Bhima, Pandu's second son, is born. But Duryodhana's birth is marked by terrible omens. He cries like a braying ass, other animals howl, winds blow fiercely, fires break out.
Yikes. Not a good sign.
Everyone's terrified. The Brahmanas, Dura, they warn Dhritarashtra. They say this child will be the ruin of their line. They actually tell him to abandon the baby for the good of everyone.
Abandon his firstborn son. That's harsh, but maybe necessary.
It highlights that conflict, doesn't it? Duty to the kingdom versus love for family. But Dhritarashtra, he just can't do it. Paternal affection wins out.
So Duryodhana stays, and the other 99 brothers are born from their pots, plus the sister Dusala.
Right. And during Gandhari's long pregnancy, we learn Dhritarashtra also fathered Yuyutsu with that Vaisya maidservant. Adds another layer to the family complexity.
And Vidura.
Vidura, the wise advisor, he marries a Sudra woman from the servant class and has children with her, showing more of the social structure.
And crucially, the text makes a point about the Pandavas, Pandu's sons.
Yes, it explicitly says Pandu's 5 sons were fathered by celestials, by gods, specifically to continue the Kuru line, underlining their divine purpose, their destiny.
That divine intervention theme again,
Yep.
setting them apart.
Exactly. They aren't just princes, there's something more, destined for great things.
Okay, so the next generation is established,
Yeah.
but then there's a major turn for Pandu himself, his retirement.
Yes, triggered by a tragic accident during a hunt.
He's out hunting, and he shoots, not just a deer.
He shoots what he thinks is a deer, but it's actually a rishi's son, a sage's son, who had taken the form of a deer and was being intimate with his mate, also in deer form.
Oh, terrible timing. And the
Yeah.
dying rishi.
The rishi curses him. Filled with grief, he decrees that Pandu will die the instant he engages in sexual union.
A devastating curse, absolutely life-altering.
Completely. Pandu is overwhelmed with remorse. He realizes the implications and decides right then to renounce everything. His kingdom, his worldly life.
He becomes an ascetic, retires to the forest.
Yes, seeking spiritual salvation. He gives up all possessions, embraces celibacy, brahmacharya, strict discipline.
And his wives, Kunti and Madri.
They insist on going with him, showing incredible devotion. They choose the ascetic life alongside him.
So they're living this austere life in the forest. But the issue of heirs, of continuing the line, must come up.
It does. Pandu, mindful of the curse, talks to Kunti, explains how crucial sons are for his own spiritual merit after death and for the family lineage. But he can't.
He can't father them himself because of the curse.
Precisely. So he asks Kunti to bear children by other means. He actually references ancient customs where this was acceptable, using accomplished sages or gods to ensure the line continued.
And this is when Kunti reveals her secret.
Yes. She tells him about the boon from Durvasa, the mantra to summon celestials.
And Pandu sees this as the solution, a divinely sanctioned way.
He does. He wholeheartedly agrees she should use the boon. It aligns with Dharma, secures the lineage.
So the births of the Pandavas begin. Who does Kunti summon first?
First, Dharma, the god of justice and righteousness, and Yudhishthira is born.
The eldest.
Yeah.
And there's a proclamation.
Yes. An incorporeal voice from the heavens declares he'll be the best of men, virtuous, truthful, a future ruler.
Wow. Okay, who's next?
Next, she invokes Vayu, the god of wind, and Bhima is born.
The strong one.
Immensely strong. The voice declares him the most powerful of all strong men. There's that story, isn't there, about him falling as a baby.
Oh yeah. Kunti drops him accidentally onto solid rock.
And the rock shatters, but Bhima is perfectly fine, shows his incredible power right from the start. And remember, he's born the same day as Duryodhana.
Right, the contrast. Okay, so Yudhishthira by Dharma, Bhima by Vayu, who's third.
Third is Arjuna. But first, Pandu undertakes some serious austerities to please Indra, the king of the gods. Then Kunti invokes Indra.
And Arjuna is born. The great archer.
The greatest. And the pronouncements for him are even grander. He'll be equal to legendary heroes, invincible, famous worldwide, destined to win kingdoms and receive celestial weapons. Even the Pasupata from Shiva himself. The heavens literally celebrate his birth with music and flowers.
Truly epic beginnings. But what about Madri, Pandu's other wife?
Understandably, she's feeling left out, deeply saddened at being childless, while Kunti has these 3 amazing sons. She talks to Pandu.
And Pandu understands.
He does. He empathizes and manages to persuade Kunti to share the mantra with Madri. Just once.
So Madri gets to use the boon too. Who does she invoke?
She invokes the Ashwini Kumaras, the twin celestial physicians known for health and vitality.
And she have.
Twins, Nakula and Sahadeva, also described as auspicious, handsome, growing quickly.
So there we have the 5 Pandavas, all divinely fathered, fulfilling Pandu's need for heirs despite the curse.
Exactly, an extraordinary solution to his dilemma. But this peaceful, ascetic period doesn't last forever.
No, tragedy strikes. How does Pandu die?
It's springtime. The forest is beautiful, intoxicating. Pandu is alone with Madri. And despite the curse, despite everything, desire overwhelms him.
He forgets the curse. Or ignores it.
The text suggests he succumbed to the moment, the beauty, the desire. He unites with Madri, and as the Rishi decreed...
He dies. Instantly.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yes. A tragic end, caused by that moment of succumbing to desire.
Madri must have been devastated.
Mm.
Her cries bring Kunti.
Yes, Kunti and the young princes rush to the scene, and then this incredibly poignant debate happens between Kunti and Madri.
About who should follow Pandu onto the funeral pyre. Sati.
Exactly. Madri insists it should be her. She argues she was the cause, in a way, the object of his final desire. She also worries she couldn't love Kunti's sons as much as Kunti herself would.
Kunti argues she's the chief wife, the mother of the elder sons.
But Madri is adamant. She wants to fulfill Pandu's last desire, be with him in death. It's her final wish.
And she does it.
She does. She ascends the funeral pyre with Pandu, an ultimate act of devotion.
Leaving Kunti with all 5 young boys. What happens then?
The rishis, who lived in the forest, who knew Pandu, they decide they must take Kunti and the children back to Hastinapura, back to their family and kingdom.
How is their arrival received?
With wonder, awe, but also deep sorrow when the news spreads. Dhritarashtra is grief-stricken over his brother. Vidura handles the funeral arrangements for Pandu and Madri, grand, solemn ceremonies.
So the Pandavas now grow up in the palace at Hastinapura, alongside their cousins, the Kauravas.
Yes, and it doesn't take long for tensions to surface, especially with Bhima.
His incredible strength. He probably doesn't hold back during games.
Not really. He's portrayed as playfully tormenting Duryodhana and his brothers, but his idea of play is probably quite rough given his power, dunking them, wrestling them easily.
And this breeds resentment in Duryodhana.
Deep resentment, jealousy, which leads to that first, truly evil act.
The poisoning.
Yes. Duryodhana poisons Bhima's food. When Bhima passes out, Duryodhana ties him up and throws him into the Ganga River, thinking he's killed him.
Horrifying. But Bhima survives.
Miraculously. He sinks down to the realm of the Nagas, the serpent beings. They recognize him, give him this divine nectar to drink.
And this makes him even stronger.
Gives him the strength of 10,000 elephants, the story says. He spends 8 days there, then returns, much to everyone's shock and relief. He tells his brothers what Duryodhana did.
What does he do? Confront Duryodhana. Tell Dhritarashtra.
No! Yudhishthira, even as a boy, shows his wisdom. He tells him to keep quiet about it for now, to just watch out for each other, protect themselves, avoid escalating things openly.
Smart, but also ominous. It shows the danger is real and it's being hidden.
Exactly. It's the start of that dangerous undercurrent between the cousins.
Okay, so the boys are growing up, rivalries are simmering. What about their education? Proper training for princes.
Dhritarashtra appoints their first teacher, a preceptor in arms, Gautama, who's also called Kripa.
Kripa. His birth was unusual too, wasn't it? Something about springing from a clump of reeds.
Heath, yes. Another slightly miraculous origin. He's skilled in Vedas and weapons and teaches the basics to all the princes.
But Bhishma wants more.
Bhishma, always looking out for the boy's best interests, seeks out Drona, son of the sage Bharadwaja, renowned as a master of Vedas and, crucially, the science of warfare.
Drona, another major figure. His birth also involves a pot.
A vessel, yes, a Drona. Bharadwaja's vital fluid was kept in it, and Drona emerged. He learned weaponry from Agnavesa, got celestial weapons, and even studied under Parashurama, Rama of the Axe, a serious pedigree.
And he had a history with King Drupada.
A complicated history. They were childhood friends, studied together, but later, when Drupada became king and Drona was poor, Drupada insulted him, denied their friendship.
Ah, so Drona has a grudge.
A big one. He wants revenge.
How does Drona end up in Hastinapura?
Kind of by chance. The princes are playing, lose their ball down a well. And a ring, too, apparently. They can't get him out.
And Drona happens to be there.
Yes. He sees them struggling and offers to help. He retrieves the ball and ring using just blades of grass charged with mantras. A display of incredible skill.
The princes are amazed, obviously. Tell Bhishma.
They do. Bhishma recognizes who this must be from the description and the feat. He immediately invites Drona to become the preceptor for all the Kuru princes, Pandavas, and Kauravas.
Drona accepts. He gets access to royalty, resources.
He accepts and begins teaching them all, including Karna, who joins the training.
One student quickly excels.
Arjuna. His dedication, focus, skill, it's just exceptional. He rapidly surpasses everyone, especially in archery. Drona becomes convinced no one will ever equal him.
Which must fuel the rivalry with Karna even more.
Absolutely. And then there's the story of Ekalavya.
Right. They shot a prince. Drona refused to teach him directly because of his lower birth.
Yes. But Ekalavya didn't give up. He went into the forest, made a clay statue of Drona, and practiced relentlessly, treating the statue as his guru.
And he became incredibly skilled.
So skilled, through sheer self-discipline, that he actually surpassed Arjuna in archery.
Wow. What happens when Drona finds out?
Drona finds him, sees his skill, and remembering his promise or feeling that Arjuna's supremacy was threatened, he asks Ekalavya for his preceptorial fee, his guru dakshina,
And the fee is?
his right thumb.
Oh, no. That effectively ends his archery career.
Exactly, a really controversial, harsh act, driven entirely by Drona's need to ensure Arjuna remained number one.
Drona really focuses on Arjuna's focus too, doesn't he? The bird test.
Yes, that famous test. He sets up a target, asks each student what they see. Others mention the tree, the sky, Drona himself.
But Arjuna?
Arjuna says, I see only the bird, or sometimes only the bird's eye. That absolute concentration, Drona is immensely pleased.
And rewards him with a special weapon.
Yes, the Brahmasira, an incredibly powerful, destructive celestial weapon. But Drona gives it with very strict warnings. Never use it against lesser foes, never use it casually, only in direst need.
So all this training leads up to the big show.
The big public tournament. Time for the princes to show off their skills to the king, the court, the people of Hastinapur.
The crowd must have been buzzing, seeing the Pandavas in action.
You're amazed. The Pandavas display incredible prowess. But then, drama.
Karna makes his entrance.
Unannounced, strides into the arena, radiant golden armor, earrings gleaming, confident. You can imagine the hush falling over the crowd.
His divine parentage is hinted at again. Son of Surya.
Through the description, yes. And he doesn't waste time. He issues a direct challenge to Arjuna and then proceeds to replicate every single feat Arjuna had just performed, effortlessly.
Gasps from the audience, I bet.
Murmurs astonishment, and Duryodhana sees his chance.
He sees an ally, someone who can match Arjuna.
Exactly. He rushes forward, embraces Karna publicly, declares his undying friendship, and right there, on the spot, makes him king of Anga.
Just like that, bestows a kingdom.
Just like that, a huge political move cementing their alliance instantly. Karna, the outsider, suddenly has royal status and Duryodhana's powerful backing.
How does Arjuna react?
He's furious, disgraced, challenged. He confronts Karna, questioning his right to be there, his lineage.
The crowd is divided. Some support Arjuna, some Karna.
Completely divided. Tension is sky high. The texts even say celestial signs appeared, adding to the momentous feel. And poor Kunti,
Seeing her two sons, unknown to everyone else, about to potentially fight.
faints. The emotional toll is too much.
Things get even more complicated. Kripa steps in.
Kripa, the preceptor, following protocol, formally asks Karna to declare his lineage. Tournaments like this were for royalty or proven heroes. You couldn't just walk in.
So Karna's newly gifted kingship is immediately useful.
Duryodhana makes sure of it. He formally installs Karna as king of Anga right then and there, silencing Kripa's objection.
But then another interruption.
Karna's adoptive father, Adhiratha the Sutta, arrives. Humble, perhaps a bit overwhelmed, he comes to congratulate his son.
And Bhima sees this.
And Bhima, ever blunt, mocks Karna. Ah, the son of a charioteer, he scoffs, trying to undermine Karna's new status.
So the tournament ends kind of chaotically, with these factions clearly formed.
Yes, no clear winner between Arjuna and Karna that day. Just divided loyalties, simmering tensions, and the solid alliance between Duryodhana and Karna.
Okay, so after the tournament, Drona decides it's time to collect his fee.
His guru dakshina. And he doesn't ask for gold or cows. He asks for revenge.
He wants them to capture King Drupada,
Yeah.
his old enemy.
Exactly, capture him and bring him back.
The Kauravas try first. Duryodhana and his brothers.
They do. Confident, probably arrogant. But Drupada is a capable warrior, and they fail, get repelled.
So it's up to the Pandavas.
Arjuna assesses the situation, sees the Kauravas weren't up to it. He leads his brothers in, and they succeed. They capture Drupada.
And deliver him to Drona. What does Drona do?
He humiliates Drupada, rubs his nose in the defeat, reminds him of the past insult. Then he takes half of Drupada's kingdom, the northern part, for himself.
Adding insult to injury. And further diminishing Drupada.
Absolutely. Drupada is left burning with resentment, now more determined than ever to get revenge on Drona. He starts performing sacrifices specifically to obtain a son who can kill Drona.
This cycle of revenge just keeps going. Meanwhile, Drona and Arjuna.
Drona reinforces the warnings about the Brahmasira weapon, its power, its danger. Make sure Arjuna understands the responsibility.
And asks for one last thing.
As a final fee, he demands a duel with Arjuna, a sign of respect, perhaps, testing his best student one last time.
So the Pandavas are now established, powerful, famous. Arjuna's archery is legendary.
Yes, his skills are widely recognized. The other brothers are also accomplished in knowledge, warfare. They undertake successful campaigns, expand their influence.
And how does Dhritarashtra react to all this? His nephew's becoming so powerful and popular.
Not well. Jealousy starts creeping in, anxiety. He sees their strength growing, their popularity with the people, and he starts worrying about his own son's future, his own power.
He feels threatened.
Definitely. This growing power imbalance makes him uneasy, which leads him to seek advice.
From his minister, Kanika.
Yes. He confidentially asks Kanika, "What should I do about the Pandavas? Peace, war. How do I handle this?"
And Kanika's advice is not exactly ethical.
Not remotely. Kanika gives him this incredibly cynical, ruthless lecture on statecraft. Basically, might makes right.
What does he advise specifically?
Always be ready to strike your enemies. Exploit their weaknesses. Hide your own plans. Eliminate anyone who stands in your way, even family, even teachers, if they become an obstacle. No hesitation.
Wow. Real politic to the extreme.
Totally. So discord among rivals. Use deception, cruelty, whatever it takes to maintain power. He explicitly warns Dhritarashtra that the Pandavas are stronger now. Act decisively now, he says, or face much worse grief later.
Destroy them before they destroy you, essentially.
That's the core message. Dark, unsettling advice.
How does Dhritarashtra take it?
The text says he's left pensive, melancholy, deeply troubled. He's caught between that affection for his nephews and Kanika's brutal logic of power.
A huge moral crossroads for him.
Absolutely. And a clear sign of the darkness gathering.
So, bringing this part of our deep dive to a close, it's just incredible how tangled everything is already. These births, these early rivalries, the political moves.
Yeah.
It's all laying the groundwork.
Definitely. You see the connections everywhere. Karna and the Pandavas, their fates intertwined from day one, even if they don't know it.
Right. That's a huge aha moment. And the contrast between, righteous action and just ruthless politics is so stark.
It really is. And you can feel the seeds of the Kuru-Kshetra war being planted right here in these very first stories.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully listeners feel they've got a much better handle on these foundational parts of the story now.
They're definitely well informed on the starting points.
And it makes you think, doesn't it? Knowing all this, these characters, their motivations, these early clashes. What do you predict? What are the big turning points going to be?
Yeah. What conflicts just seem inevitable now, given how things have started?
Exactly. Something for everyone to ponder. We definitely encourage you to keep exploring these texts, and if you have more questions or insights based on this, share them.